All right. Well, I guess we're rolling. So, welcome to the episode 6 of Pins and Crosshairs.
Episode 6.
Episode 6. Today we got Zipline Brewing Dang IPA.
Dang IPA.
Give her a crack and
orange and peach flavors.
Yeah. 8% alcohol. We'll try it out. That sounded good.
Got a good crisp crack on them for sure.
Yeah, that shit's good.
Very much kind of like that fairy nectar.
Yeah, it's that more like citrusy type. It was actually funny when, as I was at Hy-Vee and I was going to go get some sort of IPA. It was just one day, and then they had a guy there. There was only one person. Like, you know how they do tastings there?
Yeah.
Like some on Fridays or whatever days they do it. Mm-hmm. There was just one person there doing a tasting, just at a table by himself, and he was right over by all the IPAs and all that stuff. And so I was like, I saw it was Zipline Brewing. I was like, oh, what do you got? And so he had like these 4 beers, and I was like, oh, okay. So I tried them, and I was like, yeah, that's pretty good. And Paige tried one, and they had one that was, I didn't even try it because I knew I'd hate it. It was
you could just tell by the name of it.
Yeah, pickle. It was pickle flavored. And you know that time that we had that pickle vodka over at Brandon's house, I was belligerently incoherent.
It creeps up on you pretty easy.
Pickle juice, anything pickle flavored is just not my thing anymore ever since then. But yeah, so I tried a couple of them, and I was like, okay. I was like, the one IPA, I can't remember which one it was called. It was good. And then I went over and looked on the shelf. And then I saw this one. I was like, what about this one? And he's like, oh yeah. He's like, I've got that too. I just don't have it on the table. So then he grabbed a can and opened it up, and I tried it. And I was like, oh yeah. I was like, that's the one.
Way better.
So, which is funny because I think I've had like maybe one Zipline beer ever. Obviously they're a Nebraska company. I think they're out of Lincoln, and I had never really tried much of them, but I tried the one that day, and I was like, this stuff's awesome.
Yeah, I've had a couple of them. They have not disappointed.
I think this was like my third 6-pack of these now already. Yeah. So like they're doing that tasting there. Right. Like
it worked out for them.
I went from never buying Zipline in my life to now like it's one of my favorite ones I've had. So I'm just like, just keep it rolling.
I'd be interested to know on that pickle one what the alcohol rating was on it.
I don't remember.
I mean, these are 8, but
most of them were, I think, around that, but I don't remember for sure. Paige tried it and she didn't really like it, but I think you get into some of those crazy flavors, like you got to be into that stuff.
I like a little bit of citrus in it like that, and I like IPAs, but there's some of them that just go above and beyond. It's like, I don't know if I need to drink that.
I mean, coming from somebody who's basically just been a light beer drinker for over a decade, I've always enjoyed IPAs, but I've never been like that's what I'm fiending for.
Yeah, gotta have it. Go find it.
Except for like when we go to Daryl's, Twisted Cork, and he's always got all those good ones there. So it's like,
well, I think it makes a difference too with him. He knows what it is, so it's like he knows what you're gonna like. So he's always told us, hey, try this one, try this one.
Yep.
That's how we found the fairy nectar.
Right.
And then
have you tried any of their? Hopscotch? I haven't been able to find that one in the stores yet.
I saw it one time, and I can't remember where I saw it. It was in a liquor store somewhere. I saw it, and I was just like, man, I haven't had that in forever.
I found Space Dust.
Yeah,
I haven't had that one in a long time, so I want to try that one again.
That's another one. What? All 3 of those? Did we try those there?
Might have
been. Yeah. You remember that one rooster one?
Oh yes.
I think they sell that at Hy-Vee.
They used to. I haven't looked for it in a while.
I haven't either.
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
That was a really good one too.
I'd love to try that again.
I'm gonna have to look for that.
If I could find. I can't remember. It has a root. It had a rooster on the label.
Sweet cans. Yeah.
Yeah, but I can't. Was it in the name?
I think the name of the beer was like Rooster or something Rooster.
Something Rooster, but
we'll have to find that one because that one was really good. I remember buying a 4-pack of those one time, and they were a higher alcohol content, and I drank all 4 in one night, and I was like, whoa.
I remember having 2 of them at Twisted Cork, and I was like, okay, that's enough.
Yeah.
Got stuff to do.
They'll light you up. I don't know. It's hard to drink any more than like 2 or 3 of them. After that, you're kind of like, I mean, they're heavier, and
that's one of the reasons I like them. Like,
that's kind of why I've switched to them, because instead of drinking a billion Busch Lights, it's like you can just drink a few, IPAs and call it a night.
And they actually go well with food too. Like that's especially in the wintertime for some reason. I've always switched to like my go-to is the Ranger.
Right.
IPA.
Oh yeah, the Voodoo Ranger, is that what it is?
Yeah, Voodoo Ranger, the original.
Yeah.
I don't like the Imperial or any of the other ones, but the original one I really like.
Really?
And it's the same thing. It's this, but it's more bitter.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's still the same citrus notes and all that. But it's just like, I can just sit and drink that for a long time.
Yeah.
Or not a long time, but
Yeah, but you sip on it a lot more instead of like, with a light beer, I swear, like I'll drink one of those in like 5 to 10 minutes. Just
they just disappear sometimes.
Yeah, they just go down so easily.
Yeah.
But like these, you actually kind of just sit and enjoy it a little bit more.
Yep. Well, and there's a lot more flavor in it to
a lot more
run through for sure.
A lot more complexity.
We sound like we know what we're talking about.
Yeah, we're trying to act like we know everything about beer, and we don't really know shit. But,
no.
That's why I'm going to try and have I want to have Jukes on the podcast at some point. I haven't even talked to him yet about it. I'm sure he'd be down to do it. I don't know.
Yeah,
but just because
he'd bring some light to the subject.
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously he knows anything and everything about beer. That's what he does. I mean, and they make really good beer. So I think it'd be fun to have him on, so he could literally just educate me on
yeah, and have him bring some of their local stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Put it out there too. Say, hey, local family business.
Yeah,
share the name.
Yeah, exactly. I think it'll be fun.
Well.
So we'll do it at some point. But I guess I haven't even introduced Phil Bunch is on the podcast today. Me and Phil go way back.
Yeah,
all the way back to high school. We played high school basketball together and really became best friends back then in high school. And he ended up being the best man at my wedding, and we've been best friends pretty much ever since.
Long time.
Pretty much all through college. Like, we hung out like every day.
Oh yeah.
Like
even like senior year.
Oh yeah.
Basically
senior
lived
year.
at
you
your
basically
house,
lived at my house like senior year. Yeah.
And then, at least 4 days a week, and
then we worked together
weekend.
in the summer. Like, so then all that entire summer, that's like all we did was just work and hang out. I mean,
yeah.
But yeah, and then me and Phil started hunting. I was trying to remember this. Were you in high school, or was it like right after high school when you started hunting?
No, it was in high school.
That's
because
what I thought.
I was driving out. It was either 16 or 17.
Yeah, I think it was like 17. I think it was like our junior year or something like that.
Yeah, because I had never been able to go.
Yeah.
I had an uncle that always hunted, and I was like, oh, I always wanted to hunt.
Yeah, because like your family didn't hunt or anything like that.
No, nobody. So it was my mom's brother that was the hunter, but nobody else on her side of the family. And my family is very mechanical, always cars.
Yep.
Cars was the thing. So old cars, car tours, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But nobody was into the hunting. I didn't really have an inlet.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah,
once I started hanging out with you guys, eventually it led to that.
Because did you go pheasant hunting with us first?
I did,
and then went deer after that.
Yep.
Yeah, because we didn't. I mean, I didn't have many buddies that pheasant hunted really back then, so it was like anytime I could find anybody that wanted to go, I was like, heck yeah.
Yeah, that was back in the patch days.
Oh yeah, I know. That's a long time ago. Yeah, he was a good dog. But,
the first time I went pheasant hunting, I was with you, and we were in the caravan.
Oh, in the Dodge Caravan. Yeah, the gold Dodge Caravan.
Bombing the gravel roads.
That thing we drove that thing to like 300-something thousand miles.
Yep.
That was like the one vehicle that just lasted forever.
Took that on all the basketball trips and everything, and then the first hunting trip was in that.
Yeah.
I was even younger. That might have been 2 years before I deer hunted. I don't even know.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. I think you pheasant hunted the first year, and then I think the next year is when you went deer hunting.
Yeah.
Because I think it was like our senior year. And that was... I'm trying to remember exactly how that all played out because it was so long ago. But that year, was that the year that was that the first morning that buck and doe ran out in front of us that I shot at and missed? Or was that the second year?
I'm not even sure.
I don't remember. I just remember that one. It was first or second year we were out there and we were sitting there opening morning. We're hunting public land with rifles. And this doe and this
shooting
buck,
across that valley,
come running out of this little ravine, and they come run out right in front of us. It was about 250 yards, and they stopped right in front of us, and the buck started breeding the doe.
Yeah.
And so I'm aiming at it, and you're like, "Are you gonna shoot?" I'm like, "No, I'm gonna let him finish first." So I literally let him finish,
and I just started laughing so hard. I'm just trying not to spook him because I'm being so loud.
Yep. I know. I was like, I did it on purpose to make you laugh, and then he finished, and then he got off, and then I took my shot, and I missed. Unfortunately, I thought I made a good shot, but I really didn't account for the fact that my bullet would drop at that distance.
Oh yeah, that was before we knew anything.
We didn't know nothing.
We walked in, we just like set up the deer, the
blind,
pop-up blind, sat in there, had no clue, didn't shoot the rifles much, and we didn't have rangefinders at that point.
Yeah, we had no idea.
Over 16, 17 maybe.
Yeah, and we didn't have binoculars. We literally just had our guns.
We had our guns and our scopes and
coffee and donuts.
The little wit that we had.
Yeah.
And that was not much.
Yeah. No, we were not experienced deer hunters at all at that point. And obviously at that point, I think I had killed one deer before that. I killed a doe like a few years before that, but that was it. And
yeah,
but that was
and
fun.
that was that gun. What was that gun? It was a 270 with that Bushnell scope on it.
It wasn't even a Bushnell. It was like Nichols or something like that. It was
Oh,
some like
yeah.
off brand or something. But it was a relatively decent scope for being like a cheaper one.
Right.
It was better than the one that came on that Winchester that I have now, that 30-06. Yeah. That one had a Bushnell on it, and that thing sucked. So I swapped that out for a nice Vortex on it. But yeah, then you ended up shooting your first deer either that year or the next year. I don't remember. I know it was like one of the first year or two you were there. You shot that buck.
I think the first year I went, I got that one.
Because I think we ended up moving to that other spot, which we were just talking about that earlier. Because back then there was no Onyx or anything like that, so we're going literally just off of paper maps, and we're hunting this big public piece. But it also had like kind of these weird fingers, so it wasn't like it was just like one big square. It was just a lot of different areas.
Well, and we had the one that was like the whole county.
Yeah.
And then there was this little tiny corner, so we were like trying to look and see. I mean, it was.
We were like going off the map from what we thought we were like still part of the public piece there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then we ended up figuring out later on that we weren't even on public. we were like literally just off of public onto this neighbor property. Yeah. And it was just like ground. It was just this like wide open spot. Like the odds of us killing a deer there wasn't even great.
Right.
But we had no clue. And we even had like a farmer like come rolling up with hay bales, like where we're sitting in this pop-up blind in the middle of this wide open.
Like,
and he didn't say anything.
6 inch cut off.
No.
What was it even?
It was just grass.
Just grass there. It was not even 6 inches high. Just hoping they'd come up out of the valley.
Yeah, hoping they'd come out of this like little like creek area. It wasn't even a creek. It was just a big drop off there. But yeah, we had no idea, and nobody ever even said anything to us. But I remember looking at the map again, like later on after that happened, because we're like, "What is this dude coming out on the public land during rifle season with
public
hay bales?
Land? He's driving his tractor out here, moving hay bales.
What is going on?" And I remember looking at the map again. I'm like,
it doesn't dawn on us.
Looking at it again, like really trying to really pinpoint, and I'm just like, dude, I don't think we're on public. I think we're on the neighbor's property.
Yep.
So, yeah, our bad on that one, but we were pretty naive. We legitimately thought we were on public.
Well, and then once we figured it out, we went and found a different spot.
Yeah, we left. We're like, shoot, dude, we're not supposed to be here.
We weren't trying to get in trouble. We're like, no, we got to get out of here.
Yeah, I mean, if that dude would have came up and said something to us, I'd have been like, I would have freaked out. Oh my God, I would have felt so
Deer
bad.
in the headlights.
I'd have been like, oh, man, I'm so sorry. Like, I just don't want to be that guy. But that was funny.
It was like first or second time out. We're young. We don't know what we're doing. We're just like,
we're trying our best. That's part of the thing that's nice now about having like Onyx. Now it's really easy to see if you're on public or
exactly
private.
Where you're at. Yeah.
But back then we didn't have that. I mean, that was almost 20 years ago. I mean, it was like 18, 19 years ago, which is hard to believe. But
and we're old.
Yeah, I know. Tell me about it.
Got there quick.
Yeah, but yeah, we had some good times up there though. Like,
oh yeah,
and we honestly like we shot some really good deer on public.
We did
and we could have shot some hammers. Like you and I saw some giant deer that
if
we just
had
screwed
any
up
kind
on.
of skill with our rifles at all, like we would have done.
If we had any sort of skill with just hunting knowledge or just like good shooting, we could have killed. A couple of those deer were like close to Boone and Crockett.
Yeah.
And this is on public land in Nebraska, and I'm not telling anybody where it's at.
Yeah.
Because it was kind of a crazy spot, and we don't hunt in that area anymore. We keep talking about going up there, but it probably would be almost impossible to bow hunt. Like you really got
it was so thick, like and we haven't been up there in forever.
Well,
who knows,
see, last time me and Teddy ran up there during the rut right before rifle season 2 years ago, and because we weren't seeing anything down where we hunt. And so we ran up there because we're like, you know what? There's always big bucks up there right during the rut.
Yeah.
And they had cut all of that grass. You know how it's all just that big open field? Mm-hmm. They had cut it all. It was like 6 inches tall.
Wow.
So like before those deer liked it because they'd go bed in it.
Yeah.
And then they used it as a highway. It's really what they use it as. But they would go bed in there, but there was nowhere for them to bed anymore. So,
well, do you remember down in the bottom there where it was super thick with trees and stuff? If you get down that, where we used to sit, right?
Yeah.
You come in off of that and go all the way down the bottom. There was that like open runway down there.
Yeah.
And then you come up the top of that hill, and it was just cleared out.
Oh, yeah.
Remember that spot?
Yeah.
Because we come up to that, it was like a little knoll in the middle.
Yep.
And the top of that, nothing was on it, and it was completely clear.
Right. Yep.
I mean, the drag would have been terrible.
Yeah.
Terrible, but I guarantee you'd see something.
Oh, yeah. I would imagine for sure.
But that was a spot, though, like, they were all horses.
Yeah, they were big deer. Like that deer, that one year you shot that doe. That was the biggest doe I've ever seen in my life. Literally, it was like a horse. Like,
it was everything we could do to get that thing up in the
cow,
truck.
it was so big. It was just a giant. Because it was funny because you shot that doe, you and my dad went and drug it out, and my dad was like so pissed. He was just like, why am I doing this? He's like, why did you shoot this thing down here? This thing's freaking heavy. Yeah. It's hard to get out. And then I shot that button buck, and you picked it up and just threw it in the truck.
So him and I, we took 3 or 4 breaks just dragging this thing up the hill. And he's like, if this thing had antlers, you'd be dragging it by yourself. Mm-hmm. But we're just dragging that thing up there. We take a couple breaks and we get up top, and then you ended up shooting one.
Yeah. I shot it like 300 yards. I'm like, oh, it's a doe.
Yeah.
And I was like, it was the only deer I saw. And I was like, if I see a deer, if I see a doe, I'm shooting it.
Yeah. Were you there when we lifted the heavy one in?
No.
Like, did you come meet us?
You guys did it, and then you came and got me, and we got my deer, which mine was like close to the road, but it was just so small you could just pick it up by yourself.
That thing was heavy enough. We both were in the back of the truck, got the butt up on there, and then we both had to get back down and grab the front end and get it up there. Yeah. It was just a tank.
Oh, I remember helping like after like when we were
unloading it later.
Stuff like
yeah,
that. I was like, Jesus, this thing is huge.
It was ridiculous, and then we get up there. Your dad was just like, well, I think you got this one handled after the last one. I just like, whoop.
Yeah.
Just threw it right in there.
Picked it up by both back and front legs and just threw it up there. I was like, yeah. Well, I was like, well, at least I get to tag it as a doe.
Yeah.
But I felt terrible. I was like, dang it. I just shot his little button buck. It's like, I didn't know how small it was at that distance. I was just like, it looked like a doe to me.
Yeah. I feel like that's just something that always happens. Like everybody has one of those, you're looking through a scope. They look bigger, it is what it is.
Well, and again, back then it's like, you don't even know if you're going to see deer at all. So it's like, you're not really quite as picky back then. And
well, and we were younger. We didn't,
we didn't care.
Like we were talking about earlier, it's a 4x5.
Yeah.
The rack is no wider than 9 inches, tip to tip.
But you see the points and you're just like,
oh,
yeah, you're like,
it's
oh,
a good
sweet.
one.
Yeah, I know. I laugh about that because when me and Ben went to Missouri last year and hunted through that outfitter, they have a 130-inch minimum. Is like, so you have to make sure you're shooting a deer that's 130 inches or bigger.
Right.
So you got to shoot a good deer, which they do that because they're trying to keep, they want more mature deer.
Well, that makes sense. I mean, that's a good size.
And he had this guy come from New York, and this guy shot this deer, called him, was like, yeah, I shot a really nice one. And he was telling us a story. And so he goes to go help him get it. And it's like this little basket rack buck. And he's like, it's like, dude, he's like, that ain't 130 inches. Like not even close. Like if you're borderline, they're not going to care. But like it wasn't even like close. Like it was small.
Yep.
And the dude was pumped. Like he thought he just shot this giant buck.
Yeah.
And so he's like, oh, I'm so sorry, man, because like you have to pay a fine like through the outfitter if you shoot one smaller. Right. And he's like,
what was the fine for it?
It was like $1,000.
I was gonna say, I mean, whatever they paid. I mean,
the outfitter I think itself was like $2,000 or $2,500 or something like that. Yeah. But that was like their fine. But he did make the guy pay. He's like, you know what? He's like, I know, I can tell you this is honest mistake. You just genuinely didn't know.
Right.
So he was like, it's fine. Don't worry about it. And then the guy came back in next year. So he's like, now this guy knows what 130
right. The last time he educated him, said, hey, this is how you can tell.
So it was him and his son that came.
Okay.
So his son ends up shooting a deer. I don't think they were hunting together. They were hunting separate. Son shoots a deer, calls his dad. He's like, Dad, I just shot this giant buck. It's huge. Like it's a massive buck. So sweet. They're all pumped. So they're going to get it. Same thing. The son shot one the same way, just this tiny little deer. And the guy was just like, you have got to be kidding me. And he
literally just let him off.
Yeah.
Clearly told him how it works.
Yeah. And you would think at that point the dad would have really tried to really educate, be like, you got to make sure.
Same outfitter. Yeah, like, oh man.
And so he's like, he didn't fine him, but like the guy
that's good on that guy. The guy just, that would have been tough.
He was just basically like, yeah, I'm sorry, guys. Like, you just can't ever come back. Like, you obviously don't get it.
Here's the deal. You're done.
Yeah. And I don't even know if he ended up saying you can't come back, but he's just like, he never heard from that guy again. Like
Yeah.
if he would have, I think he said if he would have called to be like, can we come back? He's like, I was going to have to tell him no, but he's like, they didn't even call it.
Never even called.
He said the look on the dad's face when they walked up on that son's deer.
You just knew
because he knew it was the same thing that he did last year. And he was just like, oh man. So yeah, it was just funny. But I mean,
you'd think you'd have that conversation,
you would think, and going through an outfitter and stuff, like it's just weird because like anytime I'm doing any sort of hunt, like I'm researching everything. Like, I want to know anything and everything about what's a good quality animal,
what's there,
or what's
what
not.
they've got, what you're going for sure.
Especially if you're going through a guided hunt, like you would think. I mean, that's the thing. It's like it's one of those that place it's guided, but it's more like a kind of like here is all the property. Go hunt wherever you want.
Right.
Like he's not literally out there hunting with you.
Yep.
But then you shoot the deer and then he's going to come help you get it. And they're going to field dress and do all that stuff.
Right.
But it's not like he's actually with you. Cause obviously if he was with you when it was happening, then he'd be like, no, you can't shoot that deer. But that's just how that outfitter kind of works.
Right. Yeah.
And it was a sweet place. Like that was the first time like I'd been in Missouri for hunting and it was some really cool ground. I mean, beautiful, great properties, but we went at a bad time where there just wasn't much deer activity. It was like
not much movement.
It was October lull,
Mm-hmm.
So it was just like a week earlier than what we really needed, and we saw deer, but we just didn't find any big ones.
Right.
So,
yeah.
I've
always wanted to try something like that. It's like it's one thing to pay an outfitter, and then it's another thing to have somebody say, there's this deer is going to be right here at 9 a.m. Shoot it, kind of a thing.
Right? Yeah. I don't want it to be like that. Like I want to have some
access to some nice land that's got some good deer on it. Like not even huge, just deer.
Yeah.
Because it's like with our luck,
we
in the last couple of years,
it's like I just want to see deer. If I can see 10 to 12 deer every day.
Do they actually exist this year, or do they all die over the summer?
I'm telling you, that's how it feels in our area. There's just never any deer.
It's just like either the coyotes and the mountain lions are eating real good, or something's going on.
Well, I don't think we have any mountain lions in our area, but there's definitely a lot of coyotes.
Yeah. And there's bobcats for sure. Bobcats too. Lots of bobcats.
They'll get some deer.
They'll get the fawns for sure.
I mean, I think disease was a big problem. I think we lost a lot of deer to that. But they'll bounce back. It's just how it always is. But I mean, the area that we hunt now it's not like a deer mecca of any sort.
Right.
We're not on like a prime property, but so the population has never been insane there, but there's usually enough quality deer around. We usually have some options where like this year it was just like there was like two, and then
it's just like some years you see a lot. Like I was listening to your podcast the other day, and you're talking about the first couple of years when we went out there. There's just deer everywhere.
Yeah.
It's like I should have pulled it up on my phone. That one I took video of.
That mule
big
deer,
muley shaking his rack. Like I still have that. And
Phil was literally sitting in the spot, and this was the first year we hunted this area that we got permission on from a friend of ours, and he was sitting in the spot, and is a mule deer conservation area, so you have to draw a mule deer tag, and we didn't know that.
We had no idea
because we didn't really even know we were going until like September or October.
It was kind
of like a last second kind of thing.
Yeah,
and so we didn't have mule deer tags. We're like, okay, that's fine, whatever.
We didn't scout nothing. Had no idea where we were.
We'd never been there. We didn't know anything.
Like, hey, go set up over there. Try that.
I mean, I went out there. Me and my dad and maybe Justin, or I don't remember for sure. Maybe Teddy. We went out there and Bill drove us around to all of the properties.
Yeah, just showed
us everything, like what all this is.
Make sure we aren't on the neighbor's property.
Yeah, and but so we found some spots where we're like, these should be decent and hopefully have some deer on it. And so Phil ended up setting up in this one spot on like the second or third day because we had seen deer there, and he's
just that cheap pop-up line we've been using
cheap pop-up line.
16
from Menards, out still kind of out in the open. Like again, we're rifle hunting. Like we don't know what we're doing half the time. But he sets up and he's got these mule deer that come in to like 100 yards.
Less than that.
80
they
yards.
were 80 yards. I mean,
and he's just in this pop-up line, but this one mule deer was just a giant mule deer with a drop tine, and he couldn't shoot it. It was so big.
There was like 7 or 8 does that slowly came up out of this draw. There's a water hole way down on the side, and they slowly came up and were in front of me. And I'm just like, these guys 20, 30 yards from my pop-up.
Yeah. I know. I remember.
I'm videoing all these guys. I'm like, what is going on? They just don't care that I'm here. I mean, are they that dumb? Is whatever.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, I see that big muley come up, or that big buck, and I just couldn't believe it. I was so mad. I'm like, the one time
that we don't
because we had
have
shot
tag.
muleys before in the other.
Because our other unit, you didn't have to
Didn't
have
need
a
it.
tag.
Yeah.
You could shoot a mule deer buck in that unit. You just couldn't shoot a mule deer doe.
Right.
So we didn't realize it.
Didn't even think about it. Lessons learned. But
Yeah.
comes out there and he just walks out and I see him probably 100 yards first. And I'm
Right.
like, no way that's a muley buck that big. And I look at him through my scope and I'm just like, this guy is a monster.
Yeah. With that drop tine, that was the coolest part about
Yeah, and
it.
he had his head down. I'm just
Yeah.
like, I can already tell with his head down this guy is big. And he keeps coming in. I'm just like, well, I have nothing to do here. It's all mule deer. I can't do anything.
Yeah.
So then I'm like, how am I going to get a good picture of this? Nobody's going to believe me.
Yeah.
So I get my phone out. I'm trying to take pictures, and that's
Not back
phones
then.
were not
Yeah,
that
the
good back
technology
then. I
wasn't
had an
there yet.
iPhone, but it was the single camera,
way back.
maybe zoom, probably not.
Probably like an iPhone 5 or something like that.
Maybe
Like it had to be back then. I mean, that was like 8-9 years ago.
And so he just keeps coming closer, and he's lifting his head up, and I'm just like, this thing is a monster. I got to figure this out.
Yeah.
Well, then I put my phone up to the back of my scope because I had that single camera. I put it in wide view.
Yeah.
And then I was just like holding this thing, because I had to hold it off of the scope a little bit so it would focus. So I'm like trying to get the two things to line up. Finally get it. And it literally, as soon as I get focused on him, he lifts his head up like this.
Yeah.
He scans left, scans right, and then just like shakes his rack like this. And I'm just like, I just melt in my chair. I just can't
Just
even
gotta
believe
sit
it.
and watch. Yeah.
Just watch it, walk away. I'm texting everybody like, here's the pictures, here's videos, and
I know. I remember getting that video. I was like, "Oh my god!" I was like, "That sucks so bad. He can't shoot it."
oh man, do you remember just from that year to the next year?
Yeah.
How excited we were.
Oh, we were so pumped.
We were looking into everything. We were buying everything.
We all
had
got mule
new
deer
stands.
tags. We were. And
That
we
was
didn't
the
see
year
a
we
single
were-
mule deer.
That was the year. Did you guys put in the permanent
Blinds.
stands?
Yeah. Because we put it in that spot on purpose.
There's mule deer everywhere out here. They're massive. We're gonna have so good of luck next
Yeah.
year. And then the next year we see none.
There was no mule deer.
no
to be
mule
found.
deer. Did not see one that entire year.
Yeah. It was.
And
so
then
dumb.
it's like, man, ever since then, I feel like, we've had some deer out there, but it's like they're not herded like they
No.
were that time. And
No.
and the mule deer, it's few and far between.
Yeah, I mean, we still have had decent years with whitetails, like decent numbers on some of the years, but the mule deer literally just disappeared.
Yeah,
They went
2 or
from like we
3.
saw 5 or 6 good shooters that year. That one my dad saw, that was that giant one
out across that field.
Yep. And then we went from that to like nothing for the last like 6 years.
2 does and a
And a spike or a 2x2, like
Yep.
just small. This year was the first year when I got those pictures of those ones this year was the first year we had good mule deer around that we'd even seen.
Well, and how many times did you see those?
They're still there.
They're still there.
I just got a picture of one the other day.
Wow.
Not the big one.
Well,
But the other one, so there's, I don't know if I ever showed you the picture or not, but there's one that the left side of his rack is really nice.
Yeah.
Big 4 or 5 point, nice forks, like really nice mule deer. The other side, he must have had an injury or something. I don't know, because it grew all funky and
all
small.
weird on him. Yeah.
But he survived. Like I just got a picture of him like 4 or 5 days ago.
Well, that's cool.
And so me and Ted are hoping that maybe next year, maybe if he was from an injury or something like that, maybe next year his rack will
come
grow
in.
back normal.
Yep.
Because if he does, he would be a monster.
That'd be a nice one. Yeah.
But we'll see. But again, at the same time,
well,
a lot of
hopefully
times
they stick around.
that's
You
the
know,
thing.
if he's there, maybe more will come.
A lot of times the mule deer just leave though. They
Right.
just go somewhere else. That's
just
the
keep
problem.
moving.
Yeah. So who knows what'll happen? I'm not banking on it, but it would be cool if he did come back and was there. But that other big one that I was trying to kill, I haven't had a picture of him since during rifle, so I'm guessing he either got shot or disappeared.
Or
but
just,
all the other ones were
moved
still
on.
there, but he wasn't there anymore, so I don't know if he just got killed. Wouldn't surprise me, but whatever. Is what it is. But if we get some more mule deer in the area again, it would be cool. I mean, there was quite a few this year, so
yeah, not
was
gonna hurt my
exciting.
feelings. I mean,
no. Yeah, I mean, I'd love to have more around, but it just hasn't been that way until this year. So hopefully that'll be the bounce back, and hopefully the whitetails will keep bouncing back. We know at least 2 of the nice whitetails made it through.
Yeah.
So hopefully. But again, same thing happens every time with them. Like there's many times where like we got all these deer that made it this year. Next year they should be great.
Right. Yeah.
And then we
For
never,
the last,
we never
like,
even
4
see
or
them.
5 years.
They just it's like they just move somewhere else, and that's part of the problem with that area. It's like none of it is like a great area that's like just like
Gonna hold,
deer like
you know?
want to stay here.
Right.
They just kind of move to the next area.
Yeah.
And sometimes I think they just kind of keep moving.
Well, and there's been a huge learning curve. You know, we just did rifle forever and ever, and by the time we were finally figuring that out,
Yep.
you know, we end up
bow.
switching ground. You know,
Yeah.
other side of the state.
Yep.
And then you switched to the bow.
Yep.
And then I think it took me 2 years before I got into the bows because I bought yours after you ended up upgrading. So I think you guys hunted for 2 years, and it's an entirely different beast.
Yeah.
So it's like relearning the ground and then changing up from rifle to bow. You're a whole different ballgame at that point.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, and it's time too. Like obviously that's a big thing. Like I've been able to put in more time to do it where you haven't been because you started your own business.
Right, yeah.
So all of a sudden you're having trouble finding that much time to be able to go bow hunt because it does take a lot more time.
And it's like, everybody says, oh, yeah, you get to choose your own time, but like, we all know how that works.
Yeah, I mean, you get to, but also like you can't necessarily choose when you're busy.
Right.
Like if all the jobs are coming in right now, then it's like...
Or you got a deadline.
You got to get a job done. Like,
yeah.
So it's like you can try and schedule it as best you can, but you don't know how it's going to end up playing out.
Right. Well, and I've gone out a couple of times with you, but you guys have been out there a lot more. But it's just like sometimes, like the last year that I rifle hunted.
Yeah.
You and Teddy both.
We didn't rifle hunt at all.
You bow hunted the whole time. Yeah. So I went out and rifle hunted, and it just worked out.
Yeah.
I stayed out there.
You were there for like 7 days.
7 days straight.
Yeah.
And I think maybe 5 of the 7 days I saw nothing.
Yeah.
And the other 2 days, it was like 2 does and a little spike buck is all I saw.
Well, that's the hard part is like that whole area, because it's so much just ag, like you pretty much were relying on the crops to be the reason why deer are around.
The reason why anything would come out in front of
you. Like we figured out this year, the one area was a bunch of milo, which helped a lot because that was the first time we'd had milo in that area, but they stuck around a lot. But otherwise, if there's corn, they'll be wherever the corn is.
Right.
But if you don't have corn or milo,
good luck.
The beans are cut.
There's no reason for them to come out in front of you.
You have no deer around. They just move to the next property down that has corn.
Well, and that's part of learning that new stuff.
Yeah.
The new area, because before where we were, there was always fields around, and it seemed like they always had some corn or something around.
Well, and there was like the one spot had so much timber. I mean, it was a forest. So it was going to have deer in there.
It was the bed down spot, if nothing else. We'd always see them coming in and out.
Yeah. Where now where we're at, it's just that dried up creek bed. So they're just running up and down that.
Yeah.
And they got a couple areas they can go bed, but otherwise it's just like, they're either going to be in those bedded areas, hopefully, or they're going to be in the corn, or they're not even there. Yeah. That's the thing. So it's like kind of a shot in the dark most of the time.
Yeah. It's one of those spots where you just got to put in the time and honestly, get a little bit of luck, just have one walk out in front of you. And it's like I was saying, I went for 7 days straight just because it worked out.
Yeah.
And like this year, I didn't even get to go.
Yeah.
It's just, I had a job, I had to get finished up, and just didn't work out. I didn't even get to go this year, and it is what it is. So, maybe next year I'll have a lot more time, and hopefully I can spend some time out there. That would be awesome. That'd be the goal. But, it's part of the deal,
Yeah, it makes it tough.
It's, for me, the hunting has always been, for me when I got into it, I was like, oh, hunting is cool. I want to go get my own animal and eat it and eat the meat and all that stuff. And for me, a lot of it was just going out and doing it with you. You and your dad and friends and stuff. And it was about... Man, I remember those first couple of years when we started. It was you, me, your dad,
Justin,
and even before Justin,
Tony there.
Tony went a couple times with us, and just the stories. We'd get back, we'd be tired sitting out in the mornings, whatever, and we'd get back there, and the stories were just, oh man.
Well, Tony always had good stories.
Tony'd be telling us how he was crawling through a bush chasing this thing, and he came face to face with it. He was 10 feet away, and then he started pull his gun out, and it was his black powder or Rambo.
They called it Rambo.
Yeah, it was a 30-06 with iron sights.
It was like white.
Yeah. And then you just look at him, and he just, but we.
Yeah.
Oh, I just remember laughing so hard at that. Yeah. It was just the best thing ever. So
it's like when he shot that bobcat.
Yeah.
Were you there that time? He's like, I shot a bobcat. And we're like,
guarantee you shot a bobcat.
He's like, yeah, that's right. I shot it. It's over this hill. We're like, all right, well, let's go find it. And he's like, we're looking, and my dad's like, you sure you shot a bobcat? He's like, yeah. He's like, well, you sure it wasn't a coyote? He's like, no, it's a bobcat. He's like, well, I'm staring right at a dead coyote. Pretty sure
Right
it's a coyote.
Oh yeah.
He was half blind, I think.
Yeah, but that's part of what got me hooked.
Yeah.
It's like
The camaraderie.
and just the hanging out. Just the guy time, and unwind from life and stuff. And it's the hunting is one part of it, and then when you add that to your evenings when you get back, you're mentally exhausted from trying to look out and just being aware and awake all that time, and then have that in the evenings.
Right.
That's just icing on the cake for sure.
I mean, that's the fun about having deer camp like that. And
Yeah.
that's one thing I will say I have missed with rifle. Like the bow, I still prefer to bow hunt, but it was fun that we always had that deer camp.
Right.
Because even the first couple of years we went out in this new spot, and then we had Josh and his son out there, and we had a big group like playing cards and stuff the evening. Just
there was always something going on.
Yeah.
Everybody's heckling everybody, like telling the story what they saw that day. Like, oh, you did that? Why would you do that? It's dumb.
Oh, you couldn't get a shot off at it?
Oh yeah.
It's like, oh man, it was just so much fun, just making fun of each other. Like that's what deer camp is. And that's what's fun about it. Just sit back,
playing cards
beers,
and
playing some
just
cards,
ragging on people playing cards.
Music. Yeah. I mean, that is honestly the funnest part about hunting is like the actual like hunt and kill is fun because it's super exciting and everything when you put in the time and effort. But but also like if you do it by yourself, like what fun is it?
Yeah. I mean, even if you get an animal, so before, I mean, that's back, not that much money, very little money at that point. Yeah. So at that point, I was literally hunting for meat.
Yeah.
Because I would take that whole thing home and it'd be gone in, 6 months. And I'd eat the whole thing by myself.
Yeah.
Make up jerky and share with people, whatever. But I literally was shooting because I wanted the meat and needed the meat.
Yeah.
And it's like, now I kind of would do that. I would like to have that.
Yeah.
But, it's been, man, I don't know. How long has it been since I got that one? That one, the other one was 17, and I got one the year after that. So since 18,
something like that. Yeah.
So I just haven't got one since then. It's not from lack of trying, but it's like I'm not trying to shoot a little baby, And it's
I mean that's a hard balance. It's like if you're just a straight up meat eater, then you just should shoot the first thing that walks in front of you. But also, the excitement of trying to shoot a big buck is so much fun. It's like if you're later in the week, then obviously your standards are going down. But
and that's also right when I admit I didn't get anything for 2 years.
Right.
And then, I'm just buying all this expensive meat and stuff. Yeah. And then I started actually getting a cow every year.
Yeah.
So it's like I get a full cow every year now. So like the need for the meat isn't quite there.
Right.
It's like it'd be nice, but it's like I don't need it.
Right.
So unless I get a good buck or a good kill, I don't, there's no reason for me to risk it, especially when we're bow hunting. Like I don't know. Yeah,
it's just like small deer to me just don't excite me. So it's like I feel like if I'm going to shoot something, for meat, I'm going to shoot a doe. If I'm
big one.
Yeah.
You want meat, you want something that's got some size to it. It's like
if I'm going to shoot a buck, I'm not going to just shoot this little 6-pointer just because I want to shoot a buck.
Right.
Like, it's just, I feel bad.
I'm not going.
I feel bad. I'm like, this deer was so stupid.
I'm not going for 40 pounds of meat here. I want to get a little something out of this.
Well, there's just, I mean, not all of them, but like most of the 2.5-year-old deer they're so stupid.
They're so stupid, and they're skinny.
Yeah.
And they're just like, oh man, it's just not.
So it's just like, I just don't really even feel happy about killing one. So I'm like this. Yeah.
Well, and then because they're just not very smart, they come right up to you. And it's like, sometimes you get a shot, but sometimes they just come straight at you.
Yeah.
And they're standing straight below you. And it's like, try to kill that thing and get a good shot with a bow. I mean,
well, it's like this year I had
odds.
This deer. Me and Teddy think it's 2.5. It could be 3.5, but we kind of think it's 2.5. But it's a really nice 2.5-year-old.
Yeah.
He was all busted up this year from fighting. It was during the rut, and I was sitting in that spot looking for that mule deer, and it was getting close to sunset, and all of a sudden I was just sitting on the ground in this area where I kind of had all this cover, and all of a sudden I hear this noise. I look over to my right, and this doe just hopped the fence, and then there's this buck right behind it, and the doe goes down one way, and he comes right towards me and stops like 6 to 8 yards from me. I'm just sitting on the ground with my bow, just staring at it, and he's just staring at me. And I'm just like,
now what?
What's going to happen here?
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm looking at him. I'm like, I'm not going to shoot him. I mean, I wouldn't have been able to even get a shot off at that point because I wasn't even turned the right direction.
Right, yeah. By the time you turn and everything.
But he just kind of stood there and was just kind of staring at me. He couldn't tell, like, what I actually was, and the wind was in my favor, so, like, he couldn't catch my wind. And he just kind of stood there for a while, staring at me a little bit, and then kind of looking around, and then ended up just going and following the doe. Yeah. I'm like, if I had a rifle, like,
whole different ball game.
Because then he ended up going around and down, and then going down in front of me at like 45 yards. So it's like I could have killed him right there.
Yeah.
And he didn't even have a care in the world.
Right. Well, on a rifle, I mean, it's small. You know, you can slowly swing that thing.
Yeah.
You got a bow. I mean, you get that thing up in the air.
Yeah, there's no chance.
You're done.
Yeah.
You're done for sure.
But yeah, so it's like he was like, to most people, if people would have seen that deer, especially if he wasn't broken off, like he would have looked really big.
Yeah.
Like a really nice deer, but he was very skinny antlers. I could tell when I saw him in person how young he was.
Right.
So he made it through this year, and I'm hoping he's going to be back next year because I think he's one of Buster's offsprings.
Oh,
his rack looks exactly the same.
He got some more mass on him.
So I'm hoping he's going to be around again because he could be really nice.
That could be fun.
But yeah, like I didn't even, like when I saw him, it was exciting when he came like right there close and stuff. Yeah. But I was like, right away, I was just like, I don't even want to kill this deer.
Yeah.
And I don't know.
Well, you knew right away. You were like,
yeah, I knew which deer it was.
This thing's got me clocked already.
Yeah. Well,
I'm going to lose.
We already had pictures of him, and he had broken off like 2 or 3 antlers, like tines. And so it was just like, we already were like, we ain't shooting this deer.
Yeah. So you had seen it already even.
We had pictures of him.
Yeah. So it's like, you already knew exactly who he was, what was going on. And yeah. And then, you know, your situation.
Yeah.
That was just a lose-lose on everything. You just enjoy seeing a deer close at that point.
Yeah, I mean, I saw plenty of deer that day, but just never saw any of the big ones. I had this stupid mule deer down there that's where the big one was supposed to be with, but he never came out. But
those situations, it's like I've had a couple of those just rifle hunting over the years.
Yeah,
sitting on the ground and you get that close to deer. It's like, you know, you just use it as proof of concept.
Yeah,
you know, whatever you're doing is working because they're getting that close to you.
Right.
You know, at least in that situation.
Yeah.
So I mean, your wind is right. You're sitting. You got cover. You know, whatever else. So it's like, it's a fun experience either way.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
it's fun.
You're
being
right
close
there,
to
close to a deer when you can hear it breathing, and you can. I mean, they're just that close. It's a whole different thing.
Yeah, that's what got me into bow hunting. Was like when you get that close to deer, you're like, this is insane.
Oh, yeah, it's crazy. It's a whole different ball game.
It's so exciting. But yeah, I mean, we'll see how next year goes. Honestly at this point have no clue.
What's going to happen. Well, I mean, that's just part of the deal too. You know, you've got cameras and stuff out there all the time, and it's you hope for the best, and then you don't see anything for a while, and randomly you'll get that big one, or you know, who knows?
Yeah, you never know what's going to come through in the rut. I mean, it's like this year, like the one that Teddy shot, like that deer hadn't been around at all.
Right,
and
he just showed up
during the rut, and happened to be right time, right place. I mean, there was tons of sign there with all the rubs and scrapes and stuff, and so that's why Teddy ended up going down to that spot that next morning.
How has he measured it yet?
Yeah, it was.
Because I don't know, it's probably going to shrink a little bit, but
yeah, we measured it before. They don't shrink
not that much.
Like, when we measured it, it was like 141 or something like that.
Yeah,
but he had broken off 2 antlers, and so
deductions for that.
Looking back on the pictures, and like if they were similar to what would have been on the other side, which from the pictures it looks like it probably would have been around 154, we think.
Yeah,
before without the break offs, but it broke off. It's G3 and G4 on the one side. So, but it was a nice deer, nice mature deer. It's definitely at least 4.5, maybe 5.5. And for us out there, if we can get a 4.5-year-old deer, that's a
time. I mean, they don't.
I would rather wait till they're 5.5 or 6.5, but they don't ever make it that long out there.
Don't come back for some reason.
They either somebody else shoots
move on or somebody else shoots them.
They just out there. I mean, it's pretty much all rifle hunters, and they just
they just drive until they see something, and I know that. I know Bob. That's his field. He won't matter. He won't care.
I live out here. I can hunt anywhere I want.
Basically, it's like.
I know him, so I can hunt here.
I live 30 miles down the road. They're not going to care. It's fine.
Yeah.
Basically my field, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, I don't. Who knows?
Fortunately, the one guy that we hunt on, like his land, he doesn't let anybody else hunt on it, except for one other person. But and he's like, they come out and hunt one day a year. Yeah. But otherwise,
they literally just come out, shoot the first thing they see, and go. And most. But
otherwise, he doesn't. Yeah, he doesn't let anybody else hunt deer anyway. Because I always ask him every year, I was like, you got anybody else hunting this year? And he's like, nope, you're the only ones. Yeah. And he's like, I don't let anybody else hunt it. We're like, sweet.
And that's just so awesome.
That's why we keep feeding him Bush Light.
Yeah. I mean, he doesn't want a dime for it. Nope. He's just like,
go have fun. That's what he always says. Y'all go have fun.
Yep. You drop him off a case of Bush Light and let him talk and chew his ear for, half hour, hour or whatever, every now and then when you see him, and he just loves it. And that's great. I mean, I think that's the way it should be. I mean, obviously we could pay some money.
If he wanted money, I'd pay him. But he had an outfitter on there the 1 year.
Yeah.
And did not like the guy, did not like how he tried to do it. And so he kicked him off. And then we were the next people that we were hunting on the neighborhood next to it. And so we just said, we're talking to him the one day because we ran into him.
And that's just it, too. It was like, I wasn't there the day you guys met him.
Me and Teddy and my dad.
You were coming out and you saw him. You just literally started talking to him. And it's like your dad, gift of gab. He'll talk to anybody instantly. And then there's your in. You talk to him. You're like, hey, we're just normal guys. We're not going to mess anything up. We appreciate the land. We appreciate the deer,
Yeah, he was just like, go for it. He's like, you can hunt all of it. It goes all the way this far. And we're just, me and Teddy, I remember me and Teddy looked at each other and we're just like,
we just tripled our huntable land around here.
It's like, no way. We just got so much more ground.
Yeah, for sure.
It was cool. But yeah, I mean, otherwise we need to get out there and do some pheasant hunting again. I mean, this year's
that was so much fun. It's been a while since we've done that, but it's been a while since we've seen decent birds. And
that was the first time in a while that we've hunted with more than just two people too.
Yeah, it's huge.
It's like the first day we were out there, you and I hunted just the two of us, which was fun. But when you get at least four people, it makes covering ground and
big difference. Out there, there's so many big fields, just huge. Yeah. Like, there's so many of those. It's like, if you had 8 guys.
Oh, yeah. If you went out
and 3 dogs, you could just go nuts out there.
You could kill a ton.
But, it's hard enough to get people to go out at the same time sometimes, let alone get that many people. And dogs, our luck on dogs.
Yeah. Well, we're 1 for 3.
Yeah. I mean,
we got one.
Moose, my dog, is a Weimaraner, and his dad was best of show, and his mom was field champion. Yeah. And we paid good money for him, and we got him out there. And it's like, man, he is definitely his dad's dog. He looks great, looks the part, but
pretty.
He uses his eyes first, and that is not a good bird dog.
Yeah, well, it's the same thing with Oakley. I mean, I got short hair, and I didn't. She was, AKC registered, but the guy that had him didn't hunt him or anything like that.
Right.
But great dog, but she just does not give a crap about hunting.
Could not care less. Give me the football.
No. Yep. She's like, I'll go walk one field and then I'm walking behind you. Otherwise, go give me a football. Which I was hoping she would at least go retrieve because she loves to fetch.
Right. You tried that. You spent a whole summer just going nuts, trying to get that, but
she doesn't care.
At least Moose, he's a big dog. So he runs and he'll keep up with us. He's a body.
Yeah.
And he's found a couple birds, honestly. We've shot a couple and couldn't find him, and he randomly just pulls up. Like the one time I went out, just me and Ted.
Yeah, that's right.
We had shot a rooster, and we looked for it for probably 10, 15 minutes. Had no clue. We started out, circled back, could not find this bird. We're like, okay, well, let's just keep going. We start walking. Maybe 20 yards later, Moose comes up from behind us, and he's got the bird in his mouth. And he's just like,
you're like, what?
Hey, you guys left it. It's mine now. He didn't want to give it back.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Sometimes he finds it. I don't know if he just gets lucky or what, but he's all sight and whatever. He's happy to go. But
speaking of pheasant hunting, I went to the Nebraska Deer and Game Expo this last weekend.
Yeah.
In Lincoln. And I found these guys. I talked to them. They're up in South Dakota. They are, let's see what it says here. It's SD Hunt at Suncatcher Acres. It's, I think I don't know if they're called SD Hunt. I think is maybe what they're called, but basically they're a pheasant outfitter.
Okay.
So I talked to that guy. He was actually super cool. Up in South Dakota, you're hunting all wild birds. So it's nice. They just have a ton of private ground.
Right.
But it's none of them are farm raised or anything like that. It's all wild. And they had a bunch of different packages. We'll have to look it up later, but you can do they can do all kinds of different packages. So they do everything from we feed you all your meals, we clean all the birds, do everything for you.
Yeah.
Or you can do cheaper packages too, where you're not staying in the lodge, or you're not doing meals, or
just
you clean your own birds.
Right.
So they had a whole bunch of different options. Guy was really nice. He's like, we even have a bus. So if you guys want to go bar hopping at night, we will drive you guys in a bus.
They got a party bus out there for
literally. They're just like, we'll you guys can all load up in a bus. We'll drive you wherever and come pick you up. I was like, that's freaking sweet. That's genius.
That's a whole nother.
But they have this. They have these 2 super sweet lodges. They got hot tubs at both of them. One of them's got axe throwing at it. Got a dartboard. They got anything and everything. And it was $1,000 a night per person if you did the all included.
How many days is that? Oh, per night.
Yeah, per night.
Okay.
So you're paying.
Woo.
But that was for like the full.
That's everything.
That was a full package.
That's the party bus, the hot tub,
Yeah.
the free meals,
Yeah.
the cleaning, everything.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they'll do everything. And they're sweet lodges. I was like, that honestly wouldn't be that bad. Like, it'd be kind of fun if you went and did like a 2-day hunt. Like,
Is there, in South Dakota, is there a bird limit on the day?
yeah, I think it's 6.
Is it 6 per person?
I could be wrong, so don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure. I can't remember if that guy told me that or if it was somebody I asked told me that.
Okay.
I think you can shoot 6 roosters,
Yeah.
but I don't know for sure. Obviously, in Nebraska, we only get 3,
Right.
but South Dakota, I know it's at least 5. So I don't remember for sure, but I want to say I just heard from somebody or talked to somebody recently that said 6,
Yeah.
which is cool. And
Well,
then
I don't know. Does that change if they? Those are all wild birds, but do
Yeah.
they raise them and release them?
No.
Or
No, they're
Okay.
just wild birds. There's just there's tons of birds in South Dakota, and they just have really good ground, so they obviously
so they
have
stay.
birds. Yeah,
Weird.
yeah, exactly. If you have good habitat for some reason,
you leave
birds
some
like it.
Leave some long grass one spot one time.
But yeah, so I checked that out. I was like, that's actually really cool. Like, it'd be fun. He's like, he's like, call and talk to us, and we can work out any sort of package deals. You know, take away stuff if you want to do a little bit less money. Like, we can work with it. They were super cool. It's just like, we'll work with you on whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
And I always just want to go to South Dakota and hunt. And
Oh,
so
it's
I'm
always
like,
been on the to-do list. Like,
yeah. So it's like something
with that being the first thing I ever did.
Yeah.
I was instantly there. Like,
well, and after we had
It
so
was
much
so much-
fun this year when you, me, Teddy, and Ben went, like we
yeah.
were having a blast. I was like, it would be so much fun to do this if we had like 2 to 4 more guys and like
Yeah.
actually had a good group and actually did something like that.
yep.
I don't know. It was cool just talking to them. So
Maybe it'll be something we line up next year. We can try and get that group out there.
I know I would love to. I'm sure Ben would be all for it.
Well, it's like you, me, and Ted. That's 3 guys. But
Yeah.
now if we could get Ben and Jake to go, or,
maybe get Joey to actually show up.
Yeah. I mean, he's a good shot.
TJ would
but you
probably
gotta
go.
Show up.
I
Yeah,
bet TJ would go. Newts would go.
Yeah.
We could probably get enough guys.
At $1,000 a night.
We'll see. We'll figure it out. And there's
let me tell you, that crew would be the crew for the party bus.
I'm sure there's
but that would be a
also
whole different
plenty
ballgame.
of other outfitters we could go through up there that would be cheaper. I'm
Oh,
sure.
yeah.
This was just the one I talked to,
Yep.
and they just really seemed like great guys and like they knew what they were doing. So I was like,
I mean, honestly, my ideal hunt is not the Taj Mahal.
No.
My ideal hunt is really sweaty, super tired. Just making whatever kind of protein we can get in at the end of the night and sleeping in something that is not,
Yeah, I mean, I'm good
barely
with that
there,
too. But if I'm going to go through
hunting
an
and roughing
outfitter,
it for me is like, it feels right, you know?
Yeah, you feel like if you're doing it that way, you feel like your odds are going to be better. Like,
well, I don't even know. It's just like, we're hunting, we're being primal, we're roughing it, it's.
Well, you don't have to sleep at the house when we go out.
Oh, yeah, I'll
out
just
west.
sleep outside.
You can just sleep out in your truck or something.
We campfire on the ground.
Maybe
roll
it'll
up in a
make you feel
sleeping bag, sleep with the snakes or something,
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'd be fine with just even going finding somebody else for an outfitter out there that's just a normal kind of rate, If it's just a
and
day
if
thing.
you can just get the ground maybe, or, the ground and a spot to sleep, I have no problem cleaning birds. I think
well, that's what he said.
cleaning
He's
deer
like,
and cleaning birds is like, that is part of the whole experience.
and that's what he said. He's like, if you want to clean your own birds, like it'll be cheaper. Like if you want, want to do your own food, it's cheaper. Like, so the $1,000 per person a day was like
that's for everything.
Everything. You just show
and
up
I'm
and
sure that cost is probably significantly less if you don't go for all of it. Getting a big lodge or whatever. I don't know what their sleeping arrangements are, but it's like
they have 2 lodges. One sleeps up to 6 and one sleeps up to 12. So. But I mean, obviously, I'd be down to just do whatever. It would just be fun.
Just
to go
depends
up
on
there.
how many guys we could get.
Right.
Do they have dogs too?
He didn't say, but I would guess.
I would almost imagine that $1,000 a night they'd bring dogs.
Most of the time, if you go to like a good outfitter like that, they usually have at least a dog or 2. So I wouldn't be surprised if they did. But I don't know. We'll look into it some more. But it was fun just talking to him about it, and it'd be fun to do some sort of actually like fun bird hunt where there's tons of birds like that.
Yeah,
like, I
actually be able to limit.
Well, I like as long as we can shoot.
Right.
But
I have to actually go get some practice in.
Yeah,
before
we'd
then.
have to go shoot some plays, get some practice in.
Yeah.
But I at least like the idea of it just because they are still wild birds at least. They're not. It's not like I've had no problem going to a game preserve. Like obviously I've done that before, and it is fun.
Yeah, you shoot anything that pops.
Yeah, and it's fairly cheap. Like I'd be down to do that again too. But it'd also be fun to go to South Dakota and actually just you're hunting wild birds. Like I think that'd be pretty cool.
I think that's part of the experience is that hunt. I mean,
yeah,
the ones they just throw out in the field and you just chasing them down. It's like
They don't even want to fly.
They don't even want to fly. They're just like, oh, it's just a human.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Yeah.
You know. So then the dog's making them jump, and it's like, you're so close. There's no chance. So it's not. I don't know. It just feels like it's not as sporting, you know.
Right. I agree with you there. I mean, there's something about like literally just going and doing the whole wild thing and like
you catch them off guard and they jump and they that first burst off the ground and they start cackling at you and you're just like, oh man.
Man, I was walking right before, I think it actually was rifle season. I went and walked a bunch of areas trying to see if I could find where that mule deer went.
Yeah.
And I flushed up 3 really nice roosters that day. Like I could have shot my limit if I was carrying a shotgun, but I was carrying a rifle.
Yeah.
And this one, it got up like right next to me. And you know, when you're not pheasant hunting, you're not expecting a pheasant. And I didn't have a dog or anything with me, obviously.
It just
either.
explodes right from you.
And it was a big rooster. I mean, he was a big cock. Like it scared the crap out of me.
Yeah. You know exactly the sound I'm talking about. They take off and they just fluff up and just. Yeah.
When you're just not ready for it at all. Oh, it was so funny though. I jumped so hard. But yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes out there, especially sitting in the deer blinds, you know, when we have, I mean, we'll see pheasants running by. We'll see, you know, the quail out in the trees and like. There's been so many times you see a pheasant running across the field in front of you. It's like, I could literally shoot this thing with my rifle.
Yeah.
Well, we think we could. You know?
Right. Of course. We always
Probably not that good, actually, but, you know.
I also stopped at this other booth. Actually, it was right next to Jake's Anywin booth.
Yeah.
They're called IHP calls, which I believe is Iowa Hunting Products, I think is what it is. And they had a bunch of duck and goose calls, and they got these sweet Bush Light ones. They had like all the different can patterns.
And it's the camo pattern. Yeah. Like, what do you do?
So they have the Bush Light calls, and I was like, oh, these are sweet. I was
awesome
like, and they're all handmade and everything.
Yeah.
Super cool guys. The guy I talked to, his name was Braden. And they were great guys. And so I was looking at the calls. I was like, man, I really want one of those Bush Light ones. I was like, I don't really waterfowl hunt. I pretty much, like, I'm just getting into it now, but like, I don't know how to call or anything like that. He's like, oh, we got grunt calls too. I was like, what? He's like, yeah. He's like, that one's a grunt call. So I got this Bush Light grunt call now. It's freaking sweet. Yeah. And it sounds good. Yeah. I mean,
nice.
And I like it because it collapses like down to
gets
like
small.
I have like the black rack extinguisher one.
Yeah, I think
which
it's
is nice.
One I have, yeah.
But it's a little bit longer than this, and it's got the rubber tube, so it's kind of stiff and stuff. But this thing packs down to nothing. So I was like, heck yeah, it sounds great, looks cool. So I was like,
points for style.
Like, when he said I got grunt calls, I was like, really? I was like, how much are they? He's like, $20. I was like, I'll take that one.
Done. Give me the camo. I'm done.
Yeah, they were really cool guys too. They were.
That's some good marketing right there.
Oh yeah, I mean
they know exactly who their audience is.
Yeah, they had all kinds of different like beer can ones you could get, and they had all kinds of sweet designs and everything. But
that'll be fun to try out next year.
I'm pretty pumped about this one. I think it's sweet.
Yeah, it gets tiny too.
Yeah, I just like how small it packs, and it sounds better to me than that black rack extinguisher one that I have. So I was like,
well, that black rack one, it's like if you don't bend the tube all weird, it just sounds.
It just doesn't have a deep enough.
It doesn't
to it to me.
Well, it's got the adjustment on it.
Yeah, so you can do like
by the time you bring it all the way back up to the buck.
Yeah, it just doesn't feel like it's very
not quite there.
Yeah, and I don't know. I guess maybe I could tune it or something like that. I know that's what they always say. You can tune them differently, but I don't. I just didn't realize it.
Yeah, I don't know either. We haven't gotten that far into them yet.
No, I mean,
it's like, hey, I need a grunt call. Yeah. Oh, that comes with the black rack.
Oh, it's supposed to be like the really good one.
It's rated real good. We'll try it, but
and it works. I'm sure. Like it's not like it's bad, but I like the sound of this one a lot better. So I'm pretty pumped to try that out. But yeah. So
and it's deer season and it's camo Bush Light, so
I know.
You can't go wrong with it.
Yeah, they had all the different cans. Like you could get the Bush Latte one. You could get the one of the other hunting ones that they had. They had like the waterfowl and they had the fish one. Like yeah, they're sweet. So I was like, these are pretty cool. But yeah, we I don't know what else we got to talk about. Any other topics we should move on to? Trying to think.
Well, I was gonna say I brought.
Oh yeah, let's talk about your deer. Yeah, so Phil shot this deer. Was that the second or third year we were out in the
This
new
was
area?
the third year we went out to our spot right now.
Yeah, Phil shot this one with a rifle. It's
the last buck I've got. Actually.
We haven't measured it, but I think it's probably around 140. Personally, it's a nice mainframe 10-pointer, and then it's got a bunch of kickers down here that would qualify as points. It's pretty, and it's got good mass to it. That was a good buck. That was Was that the same morning that Zach shot the coyote
that's
too?
That's that crazy story for sure. So,
yeah, tell that story.
It was one of those times we were out there, that first year we saw so many deer, and then the second year we didn't see as many, but we at least saw a lot of whitetails.
Yeah.
Some good, some shooters.
Yeah.
And then my brother, he's in the Army, he was around. He just happened to be around that weekend.
Yep.
We're like, well, yeah, come on out. We'll just see what's going on.
Yeah.
And so he was sitting with me. So this is like our third.
It was like the third
or fourth day.
Third day.
And we're sitting there, and we're in that far draw.
And Zach's never hunted before.
He's never hunted before. No, he's just hanging out with me, seeing what we're doing. He's like, you really just sit here this whole time? This is so boring. We're like our third or fourth day. Haven't seen much of anything. I mean, we saw a doe way far off on the end where those trees used to be super thick on the end.
Yep.
And it was like...
The corn was still standing too, wasn't it?
The corn was still standing. Yeah. And so they were all just walking right in front of us.
Huge cornfields. Like there's probably deer in there everywhere.
Yeah,
but
there's corn massive. On both sides of us, and we just got that not big, but that little draw valley down there.
Yeah.
Which the water hole was down there. So, I mean, it was a decent spot for the area. It wasn't bad.
For what you had, I mean.
And it's one of those spots, it's like I sat there almost every year, and, I'd see, one or two decent bucks.
Yeah.
And then some days I just wouldn't see anything.
Right.
So it's third or fourth day. We're sitting there. We haven't seen anything but one or two does way off on the end, probably 350 yards away. Mm-hmm. And we're sitting there, and it's hot. It's getting hot.
Yeah, that was one of those really hot years.
So we're just like stripping everything off. We're just like, this is so dumb. It's the end of the morning. Like it was late. I don't know if we skipped lunch that day or what, but it was late.
Maybe, yeah.
Anyways.
You shot in the afternoon. No, wasn't it?
It might have been the afternoon. Did we do an all-day sit?
Maybe, because you guys were dragging that thing out in the dark.
Yeah. It might have been an all-day sit because we hadn't seen much. I was like, well, maybe we'll just sit out there because every once in a while, you sit out in the middle of the day and that big booner shows up. We're like, well, let's try it.
Yeah.
Anyways, we're sitting there, and all of a sudden, he taps me on the arm, and he goes, oh, there's a coyote down there. I can't see anything. I'm looking through my scope. I'm looking through my rangefinder. I can't see anything. He's like, nope, there's definitely a coyote down there. I finally see the thing. It comes up out of this, one of those little side spots, and it just starts running down the fence line, and then it'd stop, and it'd do a couple circles, and it'd look, and it starts running down. He's like, can we shoot it? I'm like, yeah, we can shoot it. I mean, we probably won't see any deer after that, but I mean, it's hot. I don't care. Let's kill this thing. This thing comes running, and he grabs my rifle, which he's the reason I had that rifle.
Right,
I built that whole thing out.
Was that?
No, it was mine. He shot it with mine.
I know. That's what I'm saying. But didn't he bring that rifle with that year? Didn't he sight it in and stuff, and then bring it back?
Oh yeah. So I had built the rifle and then put the new scope on it, but I didn't have any long range place to shoot it, sight it in. So I shipped it to him.
You set the scope to him, or what? Or
I sent the whole upper receiver, so I could mail it without it being illegal.
Yeah.
I took it off the bottom section. He put it on his.
Yeah.
Sighted it in for me with the barrel and the scope on there. Sent it back. Or he brought it back with him.
Yeah.
So we had that there. I just put all this together. It's an AR platform rifle. Yeah. We had a nice 2-stage trigger in there and loopholed scope on there. So he sighted in the scope. And we had just brought it back. I had not even shot this thing yet.
Yeah.
And he grabs it and he's like, oh yeah, this will be fine. I got this figured out. And he goes out there and he shoots once. And it's like, oh man, he missed. That was loud. That was very loud. I'm like, I haven't shot this thing much. This thing is loud.
Yeah.
There's no chance we're seeing deer anymore, but it's fine, whatever. And then it comes back over and he changes it, drops aside a little bit, shoots it again, and this thing just starts whirling. He hit it.
Drilled it, yeah.
And then he's like, oh man, I gotta put this thing out of its misery. So he just sights it back up, blasts this thing, and it drops over. And it's a good sized coyote. Mm-hmm. Nice coat on it. Like it wasn't mangy or nothing.
Coyote's a coyote, kill him.
We're just like, oh great, we got something. We got some action. We're all excited. Just jumping up, being loud, whatever. Run right over there. Don't waste any time. Run right up to this thing. We're all posing out there, taking pictures. He's got pictures on his Instagram with it and pictures of the rifle with it and whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, okay, well, it's not quite dark yet.
Yeah.
I don't know what time that was. I can't remember. It's been so long, but we go out there, we grab the coyote, we drag it over, and we just drop it by the blind we're sitting in. And we're just like, okay, well, we'll just sit down and hang out. You know, and everybody else is gone. Nobody's picking us up for a while.
Yeah.
We sit back down, and it wasn't.
Wasn't like 15 minutes later?
It was like 10, 15 minutes later. He saw it first.
Yeah.
He just sees the rack just popping up over the corn.
Oh, jeez.
Just there. Yeah. And then it jumps over the fence.
Yeah.
Probably 200 yards out. And then just starts booking down the fence right in front of us, right towards us. And I'm just like, I can't get my gun up fast enough. He's trying to range this thing. I'm sighting it in. I'm getting ready to shoot because he doesn't have a tag.
Right.
He's just there to hang out.
Yeah.
And I'm getting on this thing, and I'm just like, he's coming so fast.
Yeah.
Zach, he's taking the range. He's like, okay, we're at this. And I'm sitting there, and I'm clicking down, trying to get this thing in there. He finally stops for a second, and I fire.
Yeah.
Super loud, completely missed somehow. Don't know what was going on. I don't know if I was reading the mills wrong or what. I definitely had it in the wrong spot, and he does not move at all.
Yeah.
And then I don't know if I don't think the gun jammed.
You didn't have your magazine.
I didn't have the magazine in,
so
I had one racked.
Yeah.
There was no magazine in there.
Yeah.
So then I'm like, oh, the magazine's in my pocket.
Yeah.
I just missed this thing. Big loud noise. There's no way. He starts trotting again, galloping, continues down the fence line. And I'm just like, oh, this deer is huge and it's going to get away from me. So I reach in my pocket, grab the magazine, and I don't know why. I don't think I loaded the magazine.
No, you just put a bullet in.
I took a bullet out and I just slid a bullet in.
Yeah.
Set it forward, and I line back up on it. He reads it. I click, move the dial a couple, and I sight in this thing, and I just fire. And just, it was all so fast.
Yeah.
We're sitting in American flag, like bag chairs inside of this thing. I'm all over the place. I'm trying to steady myself off the tent.
Yeah.
Like, no way, had no chance in the world. Somehow, we got it dialed in.
Yeah.
And I let one off, and I remember I did it so fast. I saw it. I was like, that's right. I sighted in. I'm like, I'm right behind the shoulder. I fire on that thing, and it all happened so fast. By the time I did that, I didn't even look back through my scope. I fired, and I instantly pulled off, and I'm like trying to refocus on it.
Just see where it's at.
And I'm like reaching for another round in case I miss because I already missed once.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, you got it. By the time I freak out, look down, try to grab another round, bring it back up. He's like, no, you got it. And then I look over, and this thing just flops right in front of us.
Just falls over.
I just drilled it. The best shot I've ever made in my life. First shot with this rifle on this thing. And this thing just goes, boom. It's done.
Awesome.
It's done.
That's so funny.
You know, we've made that mistake before, getting out, walking up, and they're not dead.
Yeah.
This thing was done.
Just out.
We got out, we walked up over to this thing, and I lifted up. You know, we're taking pictures. Like, we cannot.
Oh, you guys are just going nuts, I'm sure, at that point.
This is the biggest deer I've ever shot, obviously. It's still my biggest. And, like, seeing one that size out there, let alone this crazy story. We just shot a coyote. Like, we're making noise. We're out taking pictures.
You're not expecting to see a deer at this point.
Our scent is all over the whole valley. Like, no chance. And he just comes bounding through. He was all puffed up, rutting.
Yep.
And somehow I'm just lucky enough. The good Lord gives me a second shot on this thing because I am just not together. You know, no magazine in the rifle. Like I'm
just a whole complete.
It was just absolute chaos, and
awesome.
And I'd hit that thing and it just flopped. I was just like, oh, the seas parted, and it was like the best day ever. So
that's awesome. We
both got to kill something. It was his first time ever hunting. After that, he was hooked.
Yeah.
You know, he went back home to Georgia, and he was on base, and he had his stand and all this other stuff. He was hunting hogs, deer, whatever else, and it's just like that's definitely one of those stories. It's just always going to be there. You know?
Like, for sure. You're always going to remember that story. Like
you were talking the other day. It was like, hey, sometimes it's just like, things just work out different ways, you know. You can be out there, you can try so hard.
Try and be the best hunter you can.
You can have the best equipment, you can have the most expensive camo, you can spend months doing this whole area, and then that day we did everything wrong.
Everything that you would never do, but then here comes this deer.
This big old deer just pops out of the deer, out of the corn.
Yeah.
This huge field.
Yeah.
Like, it could have gone anywhere.
Yeah.
There's way better ways for them to go. Like, pops out of this thing and starts trotting down right in front of me.
Yeah.
I think it ended up being like a 120-yard shot.
Yeah.
Is all. I mean.
Which is funny because he probably, didn't he start out like probably like 300 plus when you
first saw him? And he was bounding.
Yeah,
He was not stopping. He was just boing.
Full rut.
He was all the way down.
He was trying to find a doe. Yep.
That's why I say when we were trying to get on him the first time, he sighted him like 5-6 times, and it was 20 yards closer every time.
Yeah.
So it was like, okay, I got, basically 3 seconds. He's doing 20 yards.
Yeah.
So we're just going, and I'm like, okay, where do I need to be? And that's why I think I missed the first time because I was at the wrong yardage.
Right.
And, dealing with the new scope, not knowing what's going on.
Right. Yeah, you don't have any experience with it, really.
Yeah, it's that VXR Patrol.
Yeah.
And you can, it's a phenomenal scope, but if you don't know what you're doing, you may as well just put it down.
Yeah. What's the point?
But yeah, that was such a fun day. And then we, back at the house later that night, we drug that thing.
That was so funny because
we had to come up this far side. It's probably 200 yards from the bottom to the top.
Yeah.
Just vertical.
That's the problem. Yeah, it's a steep
and then
hill.
we had to go clearing across that whole field.
Yeah.
It's like, oh yeah, we can get a 4-wheeler.
Yeah.
Like I called, it's like, hey, yeah, we got to carry this thing out.
You called my dad.
Yeah, he's like, oh yeah, we'll go get the 4-wheeler, come get you.
It's like, start dragging.
and he's like, yeah, just start dragging, we'll get there. And that field's what, 300 yards across, maybe more.
You guys drug that thing
clear to the road.
Yeah,
clear to where we park now.
You guys probably drug that thing like
1,000
yards.
with
it was so far. My dad, I was with my dad when you called him. Or you called me one or two. I don't remember. And
he's like, "Oh yeah, shoot whatever you want. We'll just go get the 4-wheeler." And then we called. He goes, "Oh yeah, just start dragging."
Yeah,
I'm just like, "Oh
my
man."
My dad's like, what did he say? I remember he told you to
He's
start
probably
dragging.
giggling.
Oh yeah, we hung on the phone. He just started laughing. He's like, "Poor suckers!" Like
the farthest in spot.
Yeah,
and it's just, oh man.
Yeah, because we didn't have a 4-wheeler, but the farmer that we were hunting on, he had a 4-wheeler.
Right, he said we could use it.
So we could have gone and gotten it, like gone and asked him. But
he just wasn't about that life that night. He's like, nah, they'll be fine.
Well, then he said that day, he's like, if that were me, I would have went and got the 4-wheeler. He's like, but they could drag it.
Nah, they're young, they can handle it.
Yeah.
So we broke down the chairs and the gun and the tent and hiked that all the way over there, and then walked back, and then
was it Teddy that wouldn't help you drag it too?
Yeah, when we got closer to the road because he showed up.
Yeah.
With I don't know, him and your dad showed up at the same time, maybe.
I thought he came and helped you guys, and then me and my dad came.
I don't know. He might have been in the other draw.
Maybe.
I can't remember, but I just remember that was the worst drag I've ever done.
Hey,
it was a big deer, but
I'll
100% do it again if I could have another one of these.
Yeah, if it was like a little 3x3, you probably wouldn't want to do that. But yeah, being a nice big deer, like it's always worth it.
I think that's also part of the experience. It makes you not want to shoot the little guys.
It's true.
It's
true.
It's still heavy. It's still going to be a pain.
Yep.
Like
if you're going to shoot the little guys, you got to make sure they're in the right spot. It's like
make sure it's worth it.
It's like my dad always says, whenever you shoot a deer, you got to know exactly where you're at because you got to decide whether it's worth it or not.
I remember you and I, when we were hunting that original spot, that public round, we were like, why wouldn't he shoot this thing? It's a big deer. He says he's got this big deer. Why wouldn't he shoot it? I would totally drag that up the trees. 10 years later, we're like, no chance.
Yeah.
Not shooting it.
Not anymore. We're just becoming those old guys. Same thing.
I don't know whether we're a little choosy.
I don't know whether we're getting smarter or lazier. I don't know. Probably a little both.
Probably a little bit of both, but
Yeah. Which now, for the most part, where we're at now, we can access the areas better now, so we can.
Yeah. Well, and it's you can get a car in closer.
That's what I'm saying. Like
you can't take nothing.
Well, we've talked like to the farmers and stuff enough. Like if it's a cut field, they don't care if we drive our trucks.
We just stay at the edge and lift them back up in there. And
I mean, that's what we did with Teddy's deer this year. His deer died like in the same spot that he killed the other one in that area a couple years ago, and we just drug it up out of the creek bottom there, and then got it on the cart, and then just pulled it on the cart and
walked it out right there. Yeah.
So, I mean, it's like last year when my dad shot that mule deer last year, he shot it, it was up in the cornfield. So it wasn't down at the bottom of that draw.
Uh-huh.
So we didn't have to drag it out of there at all, which was part of the reason I think he shot it.
Right.
It's a perfect spot.
He 100% was not dragging that thing.
And then
no chance.
We went and got the cart and we were pulling it on the cart.
Do you remember what year we got that cart?
It was the
year after I killed that huge doe.
After you killed that doe.
He was done.
My dad's like, I ain't doing that again.
It's like, I learned my lesson. These carts aren't that expensive.
Yeah.
It's always been on the trip every time since.
Yeah, the cart's definitely worth it.
Yeah. It was like $120 or something when he bought that or something.
Maybe.
But
it might not have even been that much at that point. But
After that drag, he was done.
Yeah, hell yeah. He's like, I'm not doing that again.
Oh.
But I get that though. He's old and out of shape. Not old, but he's
he doesn't need to be doing that anymore.
There is nothing in this world that will tell you how out of shape you are besides dragging a dead deer. You know exactly how out of shape you are or how in shape you are
instantly.
Yeah.
And if you got any kind of incline,
yeah,
or if you got like a rut or something, a big crack in the ground, you got to drag that thing over.
I almost feel like it's like a rite of passage as a deer hunter.
Oh yeah,
like you got a lot of these people that they have. I mean, anybody that has like their own ground and they have the ability to like go
just
and
drive something,
pick it up, and all that stuff. It's great. I would love to always do that too.
Well, and think about it, most of those people are farmers, so they have a side by side or four wheeler.
Yeah.
They just have them.
But I almost feel like everybody, like if like with my kids, I would rather see them suffer on their first year.
If your legs aren't burning and you got the biggest smile on your face and this thing's back here and it's smelling because you haven't smelled one before, you can hear that, you can smell this thing and you're dragging it. You're like, am I touching it? Am I getting bloody? Whatever else. It's like, it's a whole different ballgame.
Yeah.
And especially if you got a buck.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
They don't drag nice.
No.
Well, you're holding on to the antlers and then somebody's trying to grab a leg or something. It's always just a pain on those.
Dragging a buck is easier than dragging a doe, though. I mean, they're bigger, but you at least have antlers to hold on to.
Yeah. Like the doe, you just drag them backwards, though. You just grab the legs.
But still, the legs are such a pain to hold on to.
Yeah. It's always a
But that's part of the whole experience.
Oh, yeah.
That's part of the fun. Like
that's just it. It's like it's like for me, it's like when you're going hunting, you're gonna have really good food.
Yep.
And you're gonna stay, because of the way we did hunting, you're gonna stay somewhere that's not the nicest place,
right?
And you're just gonna spend your time out in the field. Yeah. You're enjoying nature. You're out there. That's
you're not there to just hang out at the lodge.
Yeah. So especially on your first deer, that should definitely be a thing, I think. But I mean, you don't know what it means,
right? To
be dragging. Big deer.
Once you've done that, then you feel a little bit more accomplished.
Yeah.
Like you feel.
Well, it's just like, when you're a kid and you do something you don't think you're able to do, and you figure it out and you got that sense of accomplishment. Yeah. It's like, I just went and I killed this deer, got my first deer.
Yep.
You're ecstatic. You're over the moon. And then,
and then you realize get to that point, much you got to put in the work to.
I got to get this thing out of here. And then by the time you're out of there, you're still riding that high. You're just like, I did it. I got my first one. You're so excited. Big grin on your face. And by the time you get it drugged.
You almost feel just as excited when you officially get done dragging that deer.
Right. That's a whole nother. You're like, yes, we're finally back to the truck.
Yep. You finally did it. Like
you go through that whole thing.
Yep.
By the time you get back there, your legs are just burning and you might be out of breath. It might be cold. You never know. It depends where you're hunting, obviously. But I remember mine. It was like it was cold outside. By the time we got back, we were sweating, taking our coats off, and then we froze instantly. And then it's like, and then after you do all of that, then you got to hold it up and clean the deer.
Yep.
It's like, oh, there's a whole nother ball game to this, and it's like, well, I hope you're not squeamish because we're gonna jump right in here.
I know.
And it's like that's a whole nother part of it too. Like if anything I go out and I kill, I harvest, I'm getting meat from. I want to clean it, you know? It's like, I want to know how and I want to be proficient with it. And that's like part of the whole process.
Yeah.
And there's some people I guarantee there's people out there that hunt and they just never clean it.
Yeah.
Especially the ones that are out buying hunts for outfitters.
Yeah.
Like you were talking about with the birds, like they'll clean all your birds for you. Well, I understand that.
Yeah.
But at a certain point, I want to physically do it myself.
Right.
Because that's just me. Like it's part of the whole process of the hunting and stuff. It's like I want to physically gut my deer. There's some guys like we've hunted with a couple.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh yeah, it's fine if you want to do it.
You want to do it, go ahead.
Yeah, I did mine first because I'm excited. I'm getting in there. Like let's get this done. Let's move on. It's part of the experience.
I feel like everybody's got to at least do one.
Yeah, I love it, and everybody should do one. And it's just like. And then after I get mine done, oh, you're already bloody. Your knife's already bloody. Why don't you just go ahead and do mine? And I'm like, on one hand, I'm more than happy to do it just because I want to do another one.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, it's like, but you should be doing this. This is yours.
This is your deer. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Especially the worst was when it's freezing.
Oh yeah. If it's cold,
when you pull your hands out and it instantly freezes, it's like, oh man. But again, I feel like that's a rite of passage thing. If you're gonna kill an animal and it's single digits or 20 degrees outside.
Again, you got to be the one to pull that trigger and make that decision.
You don't exactly. You gotta live with your decision.
Yeah.
If you don't know what that feels like because somehow you got somebody else there that'll clean it for you, I feel like you're missing out.
Yeah.
That's part of the experience.
For sure.
You got to embrace the suck to hunt.
Oh yeah,
and that's part of the deal. I love it.
Yeah,
I absolutely love it. You get out there and you're walking in. Sometimes you got to walk that extra mile or whatever else, and it's like going to the gym. It's just like anything. The more work you put into it, you
got to put in the effort.
If you put in the
if you're
effort,
not willing to put in the effort,
come out at the end of the day. You got a long sit. You go out and you sit 8 hours or something. It depends if you do the morning, evening, whatever else it makes sense for where you're at. But if you go out and you sit 8 hours and it's cold and you're freezing, and you get something and you drag it out. So now you've been cold, you've been freezing, you had maybe a granola bar or something during the day, very little water because you're not trying to get up and go pee in the middle of the day.
Yeah.
And then you got to go clean that thing. Let me tell you, that is an experience.
And you're tired by the end of it.
And you are done. You are ready to go back, eat as much food as you can possibly eat, and then go to sleep.
Yeah, pretty much.
But it's like that's another one of the parts of it. That's hunting.
That is
for me.
That's
my experience. Like
that's the kind of hunting you want.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
For me, like I really want. I've had mule deer. I've done whitetail, and it's always awesome. But my dream is like
going to a mountain elk hunt.
Oh yeah. I want to hike in.
Yeah.
Carry everything on my back. Hike 10 miles a day back into nowhere.
Yeah.
Just be burning. Have no energy left. Like
yeah.
That's your
dream.
Embrace the suck to go get that animal.
Yeah.
It's like whether it's an elk, a moose hunt, that would be fun
moose
too.
Would be sick. I would love to.
Or if I could get to Alaska, caribou or something, that'd be fun too. But that's the next big thing on my list, honestly. Because
those are the ones you gotta start saving money for. Unfortunately.
Oh yeah.
Those are the ones that are gonna cost you money.
Well, and then depending on which way you're gonna go, whether you're gonna rifle or whether you're gonna bow. It's like I enjoy the bow and it's fun for me, but
it would depend on the hunt for me.
It would depend on the hunt, how much time you have, and honestly,
it all depends too on how badly you really just want to kill one, because like your odds with the bow are pretty low. So it's like if you really just want to kill one, you should probably just go with the rifle.
Yep.
If I was gonna do caribou, I'd probably go with a rifle the first time.
Yeah.
Caribou I haven't done it, but it's a tough one to get close to.
Yep.
Especially when they're like migrating and they're in their huge herds. But moose, if I'm going to go do a moose hunt, I'm going with a bow, because that's like my dream hunt, is to kill a moose with a bow.
Yeah. Well, and they're aggressive enough. I feel like sometimes you just call those in.
I want to
do
and I want to do an elk hunt with. I would love to just go kill a cow elk with a rifle.
Honestly,
I would love to, just because I want elk meat.
Yeah, I've never tried it.
If I get the opportunity to go on
like
a good bull hunt, I'm going to go with a bow. But if I just can draw something just to go kill a cow, I'm going to go just take a rifle and go kill a cow, because I just want to go get the meat.
Yep.
So, but yeah, there's so much more we can talk about, but we've been rolling for a little bit here. I don't even know. We're almost at an hour and a half. So
hour and a half. We're getting close.
We'll call it quits for tonight, just so that way we don't bore everybody. Hopefully we're not boring, but
there is that chance.
We got plenty more we can talk about. We didn't even touch on some of the topics, but that
I brought the old sweatshirt.
I saw that, the old Ben's bait.
Yeah.
Before me and Phil were even hunting, we were big into fishing.
Yeah, we tried to do as much fishing as possible.
We did a lot of fishing back then, and we got some good fishing stories.
Oh man.
But we'll talk about that next time, because we'll have you on again, and we got plenty more to talk about.
Leave some more for the next go around.
Yeah, I don't want to spill the beans on. I don't want to do like a 3-hour podcast and just talk about our entire lives. Nobody wants to listen to us.
Save a little bit
long,
for later.
So, but
we got that, and then that whole Wyoming trip I just went on.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Crazy.
We got plenty to talk about.
Oh man.
So we won't
future
bore
episode, a little teaser.
Yeah, we got plenty more to talk about. So we'll get that done in the next one. And but thanks for coming on. This was fun.
Thanks for having me.
We got finishing up our dang IPAs here, and thanks for listening or watching the Pins and Crosshairs, and thanks Phil for coming on, and we'll catch you next time.
Sounds good.